And we started. So whenever you're ready, sir, go ahead.
All right. First of all, hello, everyone. It's great seeing faces because as counselors, unfortunately, we don't get to see you all every day. We're not in a classroom. But the first thing, I don't have a whole lot to go over, but with your on Infinite Campus, you're going to be showing pretty soon a class, kind of like your class of 2022. It's going to be a GSP class. It's going to be a Google Classroom that's going to pop up. Okay. That's how we are going to do submissions for GSP. And I'll work this out with Mr. Rich because there's 2 or 3 different ways that we're going to do it. But this year is everything's electronic and that's not happened before with GSP. So it's the first time that we've ever done electronic versions. So we're going to set it up. It is a Google Classroom and I'm going to be sending announcements in the Google Classroom and stuff, me or Mr. Rich. And it should be pretty easy if you've done, and I know you followed exactly what Mr. Rich has told you. It's just going to be either converting it or just uploading it like you do your normal assignments all the time. I'm not the best with Google Classroom, so Mr. Rich is going to be, because I don't have a Google Classroom besides the class of 2022, which all we do is really send messages. We don't give you all assignments. So this is going to be a learning process for me as well. Don't worry about it. We're going to get through it. We're going to make sure your applications are great, and any corrections that we need to do, we'll get in contact with you all, okay? What I'll do is I'll get the list of everybody's name from Mr. Rich, and we will get that scheduled. I'll try to get it scheduled by the end of the day Monday. So you should be seeing that Google Classroom pop up. Don't panic about it. We'll let you know what's going on as we need to process through, okay? That's really all I have, but I wanted to kind of hang on and listen. We had a meeting Monday with Governor Scholars with all of JCPS. So this is the process that everybody is using in Jefferson County. I think it's kind of just a Jefferson County only because the rest of the state has been in person at some point throughout the school year. So, okay. So don't panic. We'll get you through it. It's number one thing I want to say. We will do whatever we can to make sure everything is smooth. Okay. Any questions for me? All right. Thank you, Mr. Rich.
Thank you, sir. Number one, everyone panic, please, as much as possible. It'll make everything better. It's going to be fun. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So, oh, I know some of you missed this sarcasm. I know you have. So anyway, a couple of things for me. This is not going to be a lengthy meeting because I basically have 3 things to go over. So you will hear from one of us about the classroom stuff. That means you need to enroll. We will get Mr. Cox will help us do that. If there is anyone, I have not heard from anyone else. There's 2 people on the screen right now that have been participating and turning in stuff that I'm expecting to apply. If you know of anyone else, any of your peers, any of your friends who are interested, they're going to have to get on our Google Classroom list to submit. So if you hear anybody saying anything about, oh, I want to do GSP, or saying, are you applying for GSP? What do I do? How do I turn? Because everything said email me, which is fine. And maybe I'll get an email that I don't expect, but I need to add you to the Google Classroom roster so we can have you submit everything electronically. And all the instructions will be there. And just as you all been doing, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to email me and I'll help you out. So Mr. Cox and I'll meet next week and figure out the details of what we're going to do. And then the date of submission is still the same. For us, that is Monday, the 15th. Monday, the 15th. So that is Monday of the last week we're in class in December. Okay. So we will talk in just a second about recommendations. That doesn't include your recommendations. I have them. So this is your application typed in the GSP format. That is the beginning part where you give your biographical information. You have to pick classes. You have to sign the waiver, including a parent or guardian and you. And then there's the student profile, honors awards, extracurriculars, all that good stuff, and the essay. So all that will be uploaded there. The most common thing that happens is we get people turning in the packet without a signature. So we'll have to discuss how that is. Some of you may be adept at digital signatures. Some of your parents may have one for work already, and we have to get one for you. Some of you have no idea what we're talking about. And so the goal is to make your signature look, it just needs to be authentic. So if it's like a cell phone picture, that'll work. That's not going to have anything to do with whether you get in or not get in. We need that legally for like you're a parent or guardian to give us permission for you to come join us this summer, okay, upcoming summer. So all that stuff is included. So Miss Ms. Chavez is going to be in the front office, going to be going through all the applications and looking to make sure, excuse me, whoops, wow, I just burped on screen. That's awesome. That I don't think I've actually done that this entire semester. So congratulations, you're fortunate to experience that. Excuse me. So you're going to, she's going to make sure everything's there, but just go ahead and double check. That's the most common thing. Also, you have to fill out your biographical information. Now, let me give you a little bit of advice about class choices. We talked about this a long time ago at your first meeting. GSP is not a pre-professional program. If you want to become a lawyer, that's awesome. You can still become a great lawyer and get into law school. It doesn't matter if you're in our political and legal issues class or not. I would encourage you to pick classes that you find interesting or engaging, that maybe not something you're looking at to do career-wise. Okay? Just so it's fun. You do not need to get into our healthcare industry class to become a doctor.
Question about this one. So yeah. I looked at the catalog, or I listened to like the past things for like what some of the classes did. If you do want to become a lawyer, but you also find that class really, really interesting and you really, really want to do it, would you still advocate against it?
No, I would not. I'm not advocating at all. I'm just saying some people this is a learning experience with no grades, no college credit, nothing normally associated with your classes. You're going to do nerdy stuff because you find it interesting. So if you love it, then by all means, please choose it. But sometimes it's, my dad's a lawyer. He wants me to be a lawyer. I've got to be in political. We get calls, I'm not kid you, every year. My son's going to be a doctor. He didn't get in the healthcare industry. You need to switch it. That's pretty intense. That's not what this is. So Don, that's fine. So go with something you like and would be interested in learning about. We tell our faculty, have a plan for the first day or two of class. After that, don't plan a whole lot because you need to talk to your kids. You need to meet your kids. You need to see what they're interested in before you plan your curriculum. So political and legal issues can mean a lot of different things. Biological and environmental issues can mean a lot of different things. Some kids are like super into the environment and your teacher's going to have you like looking at fruit flies all summer. It just depends. And we also say don't try to do one thing all summer because this is a really broad liberal arts curriculum and not all your kids are going to be interested in the same thing. And that's part of it. It's going to be a fun experience anyway, because again, you're going to do stuff because it's nerdy and fun. And if you don't think nerdy equals fun, you're in the wrong place. So, and by looking at the faces on the screen that I know well, I know there's some nerds up in here. So I'm not worried about that. Okay. And you're looking at the king of the nerds right here. Be jealous of my stature. So the point is that just pick something you find interesting. I don't know how to say this not nicely, so I'm just going to say it. Don't let your parents pick your classes. This is about you and your experience and your interest. And many of your parents, I'm sure, are wonderful and want you to have but sometimes they're like, and it's usually my son's going to be this, my daughter's going to be this, and I want them to have this. We are not going to help you get into medical school. Medical school is 6 years from now at best. That's no. And the best part of GSP, from my experience and from the experience I see kids have every summer, this is a different way to learn. It's not about the GPA. It's not the pressure that we all feel to try to get the extracurriculars in. It's not your application. Your application and the GSP experience are two very different things. And I've told you this before, but even I don't see anybody score. I have no idea who scored the highest on our campus. I have no idea who got the last kid that got in, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And we in no way, shape, or form promote that. So just pick stuff you find fun. If you know you're really interested in the sciences, but you also like theater, then put down theater as our class, because you know you want to be a biologist and theater is something you like, but it's not something, then do that. Now, I will say this, there are a couple of ways in which your choices might help you get in. Okay. So let me be very brief about this, but also it's important. Now, the cutoff line is the cutoff line. That number is what it is. There's a second category of students who are called alternates. And so the kids that get in, it is top to bottom straight score. You got above the line, you didn't get above the line. Some kids are below the next line and they are not going to make it no matter what. We have the alternates in the middle. And every year Ballard usually gets 1 or 2 kids. Sometimes I've had up to 3 that are alternates. We typically have, now we don't know if we're going to have a more normal summer this upcoming summer. I hope we will, because the vaccine will be pretty prevalent by that point. And we've even talked about we might have to require it for kids to attend a full program. We don't know, but I feel very confident at this point. I mean, we had one last summer. If we had one last summer, we going to have something this summer. I guarantee you that. As someone who was there, trust me. And I have a feeling like, and trust me, we are committed to making sure you have this experience the best you can. So, but the point is, that the alternates are more subjective. If you are selected as an alternate, when you get a letter from the state in April, you need to contact me because I can help you get in. I can't help you at all from once you turn it in, it's out of my hands. I have nothing to do with it because I don't want to have any bias because I'd be honest, I'd pick all my Ballard kids first. And that's not fair to the other kids, so I stay out of it. I'd never grade applications. I stay away from it because I would be biased and I know that. So I make the meal, but I don't buy the groceries, okay? So that's kind of how I look at it. But if you become an alternate, there are ways to get you. And one of the ways we look at is typically like a drama class is 95% of our kids that select drama are female. Now, I'm not saying, to Don's point, don't pick drama if you hate it. But if you're like, drama's kind of fun. If you're a male, that might be a way as an alternate. We go, ooh, we need a male in this class. You get called first before the other male alternates. It's gotten better in the last couple of years, but our STEM classes are still more male. Engineering, health, physical science, particularly. Those classes, mathematics, those 3 classes tend to have much more males. So we're always looking to balance females in there. So if you're a young lady who's interested in that, I would encourage you to put that as one of your choices because it might, in a pinch, help get you more selected. Now, this is like a 3% chance it would have anything to do with anything, but I feel like the only benefit to having me help you with this process is I give you insider information others don't have because I know it. So I'm sharing it with you. What you choose to do with it. If you're like, I either want to get in doing something I love or not get in doing something, then so be it. I respect that choice and I'm just telling you, but that's something I want to make sure you understand. Okay. But if you get it selected as an alternate, it's natural to be disappointed. I get that, but let me know and I can help you get in. Okay. I can tell you what to do. It's not my decision, but I know which people to contact and what to say and how to say it. So I will help you along that process. Okay.
Mr. Rich.
Yes.
How many people in a normal year from Ballard tend to get in? Do you have any idea?
Last year we only had 6.
Okay.
But there were a lot of, I mean, here's the thing. When you turn your application in, I thought we might get 6 or 7. I was not surprised. It was not a great year for applications. I think we'll get more than that this year, even though our applicant pool currently is smaller. We've had up to 20 in my time here at Ballard. So it just depends. What Mr. Cox has shared with me from his meeting the other day, and you can support this if you want, there's really low applications right now in schools. A lot of kids are just not doing it. As you can imagine, with everything going on, they can't have face-to-face meetings. Typically what I do when we would have our first meeting, I would have last year's kids come in and proselytize the gospel of GSP. Obviously we can't do that. And not everyone has such a dynamic adult to, do such things as I do. So clearly it's not quite the same. Those of you that don't know me very well, clearly you understand how much I truly love myself. So you're getting a sense of that, which, I mean, is deserved. If you knew how awesome I am, you'd understand that. But anyway, I digress. So the point is that just pick whatever you want. But if you're kind of worried about, then picking something that is a little less, and the classes you can probably pick, they're very stereotypical. Which have more males and which more females. If you would be interested in making those choices, that could give you a leg up if we get to that point. There are some years out of 19 scholars in a theater class, we have 2 males. We'd love to have a third if somebody would be interested. Yeah, yeah. So there you go. Now, beyond that, everything else is pretty self-explanatory. You will have a chance, just let me explain the process to you, and then I'll go through essays and recs, and then I'll take any individual questions you have. We have to turn ours into JCPS by January the 13th. So Ms. Chavez is going to help us go through the application, see if anything's missing. I'm going to read all your recommendations, which I'll talk more about that process in a minute, make sure we have what we need and that they're of good quality. And then I'll go through and read your application again. Obviously, all of you will go on from Ballard. We have a small enough number that will be the case. But we're still going to make sure that we have everything checked and all the boxes are done. And if there's anything that's fixable, I'm not going to say, boy, this essay is crap, you need to fix it. That's something that has to happen before the 15th. Okay. But we're just going to make sure, like, you didn't double space this. That's 2 points. You need to go back and double space this. We will contact you for things like that because it's just sitting right there. You need to take advantage of those easy points. And then we will come back in January and get everything settled. And then Mr. Cox will go turn this stuff in to the district and pass it on however they want him to pass it on electronically. Then you have about a month or so, 6 weeks for the district to process their applications. You typically hear from JCPS around the beginning of March. Mr. Cox, did they give you a date in any of your meetings or?
They just said that there's still timeline. It was right around March, beginning of March.
It's usually beginning to middle of March. So if you say, Mr. Rich, have you heard? I don't know anything. You will get a letter in the mail telling you yes or no. There's no alternate from JCPS. It's yes or no. Typically, 80 to 90% of our applicants that make it out of Ballard make it out of the district. There's usually a couple that don't. I don't know how that will be impacted by this year's numbers. It could be that if what Mr. Cox is saying ends up being true as well in January, and we don't have many applicants from across the county, that maybe all of ours will go to the state level. I don't know. I have no idea how this will impact the final total, outside of the fact that GSP plans on selecting approximately 1,050 scholars at the state level. Typically at the state level, we get 2,000 applications that are passed on through schools, through the school districts, and then make it to the state level. And typically about 55% of those get in, 54, et cetera. And then some kids will decide they get a trip and they're not going to come to GSP, or they got a soccer tournament they want to go to, or, they want to go run around outside for 6 months and hug everyone they know because we all have a vaccine by then, or whatever it ends up happening, which is fine. I mean, just don't touch me, but hug people you want to, that's fine. All right. So anyway, yes. All right. So everybody good with that? And then you will hear from GSP typically around middle April to around it depends a little bit. I gave you a schedule. It may be a little delayed. Last year, we communicated all the dates on our website, the kygsp.org website, which is where they will give you like any updates about what's happening. They also have Insta, Twitter, Snapchat, all that kind of stuff. So if you want to follow any of those, they will update that on those social media platforms, and you can get that. And then you have a couple weeks to make a decision, yes or no. And that is at the time when you are able to decide if you have a preference for a date, because again, let's hope at that time we can do some traveling, or you want to be in the first group because you play a sport and you'd like to be finished so you can come back and participate in as much of band camp or soccer camp or whatever is possible. You can request the first session, and all that paperwork will be mailed to you whenever you are told you are in. So until then, there's nothing you can do. They give you all the directions about it. You need a letter from a coach or a sponsor, blah, 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 blah. If you have any questions, you can always ask me. I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive. I can help you. Just let me know. Okay. So that's how it works in terms of the process. Does anyone have any questions about what you'll know, when you'll know, how you'll know, all that good stuff?
Mr. Rich, regarding our due date, you had mentioned on that our due date is Monday the 15th, but the 15th of December is a Tuesday. So I just wanted to clarify.
We'll make it Tuesday the 15th. That's fine. If I put the 15th, I'm sure there was a great reason, or maybe I just messed up. So we'll go with the 15th. Like everything else this year, COVID, whatever. I don't know. 15th it is, so Layla, thank you. I knew one of you would tell me I was wrong, so Layla just was licking her lips, could not wait to tell me I messed up. Thanks, so Layla. No,
I'm doesn't exist, right?
Correct. Yeah.
I actually had a question, and not just
Yes.
that stupid joke. Are we going to get like an example of a application just to be able to format ours correctly? Because I messed up my formatting. I'm still not exactly certain how I'm supposed to put everything together in one document.
What do you? Well, I mean, you have the document that's on the GSP website, so you just fill everything in that document.
Right.
Yeah, you just go there and download everything. There is a tab called Applications and Forms, and you go there and everything is there, samples, etc. So once Mr. Cox and I figure out the best way, whether we want you to upload stuff individually or the entire application, we will let you know that via the Google Classroom that you're going to sign up for. So I don't know what the answer to that is, but we'll meet and we'll figure it out.
Yeah, no, that was a good answer. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Mira?
I just wanted to confirm what you said about like session preferences, because I know I'll have a conflict. I don't talk about it until I know
they would mail you stuff in May and you have to send it in. And as long as you have documentation, we grant those. So if it's a sibling's wedding, if it's a family trip, like any of that stuff, we just ask for documentation. So like we get sent wedding invitations, we get sent like airplane tickets, copies. We'll, trips, school stuff, athletic competitions, any of that stuff. If you have any questions, you can let me know, because again, I'm happy to give you, because like on my campus, I'm the one that grants those. So I can tell you what will make it and what won't. So if you have something that's a little sketchy, you didn't hear me say this, even though I'm recording this and posting it on the internet, you can just let me know and I'll tell you what to say. Okay? But don't do something stupid, because it's not going to work. Because if we start granting a lot of exceptions, that's all we do, and then the program loses integrity and it's not the same experience. So it really, truly does need to be something exceptional or something pre-planned before you find out in May of some level of significance. Okay. Anybody else? All right. The most important things, let's talk about your essays briefly. Overall, I thought you all made some good choices. I had a lot of unique choices in terms of quotes or inspirational figures. And so that part was really good. It's like y'all listened to me when I hammered about don't pick the same thing as everybody else. So I appreciate that. There are a couple of you that picked things I had never even heard of. I had to look up. So I'm also old and getting increasingly out of touch. So maybe that's the way it is. But so also are the people that are grading your application. So they're also old people. So that's how that works. But I was very pleased with your all's choices. I thought you did a good job. Here are the things that are easily fixable that need to be addressed. Number one, if you look at your rubric, this is worth 20% of your score. 2% is for double spacing, which everybody did. So that's easy. 3 points out of 20. So 15% of your score is having a defined audience and purpose. I mentioned this when we went over this the first time. There's only one of you I felt like on the screen right now that addressed that. Now, it's the hardest thing to do because your purpose is you're trying to write an essay and get into GSP. That is obvious. But we talk about authentic writing. I don't know if you've heard your English teachers say that, like an authentic voice and all that. And I thought you all did a great job. Those of you that I know and some of the things you all talked about, I connected with because I know you and I know that's part of your personality. I could see you like talking about this and being excited about it or engaged with it because of your own experience. But who are you speaking to or writing to and why? And it can't just be, I'm trying to get into an elite summer program. Yay, I want to get scholarships and meet cool nerds like me. That's awesome, but that's not what you could use. So how and why are you doing this? To whom are you speaking? Okay, so I'll give you the hint, or give you an example. The one person who did that in the applicants that I read talked about being asked to give a speech to incoming 9th grade students about the importance of positive role models. And so it was like 2 sentences. 20 or 30 words out of 500.
So is it almost like sort of like a hypothetical sort of thing?
It's
Like we
very
just
much
make something up?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, back in the old days, we used to say like in my diary, but y'all don't write diaries anymore because you live a digital life. Now, maybe if you do write a diary, you could do this. And all you would say is like, dear diary, comma, blah, 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 because then we know what you're talking to. So who are you telling the story to? Why are you telling them this story? So it doesn't really matter what it is, but it says audience and purpose. The highest points establishes a purpose, maintains clear focus throughout, like it's conversational if you're having a conversation. If it's a speech you're giving to a group of incoming 9th graders about high school, it sounds like a speech, that kind of stuff. Evidence of underlined distinctive voice appropriate to audience. For example, just 3 minutes ago, I went in this little mini tirade about how awesome I am. And some of you are like, who is this jerk? Those of you that have me in class are like, he talks like this all the time. Correct? Yes, that's how I do. Is it a bit of a character? A little bit. It's like 95% me and 5% dialed up a little bit. When I sent emails to parents who were sending their kids to Europe with me, I literally had last year a dad respond back and say, Mr. Rich, it's really funny. Your emails are written exactly like you talk. Yeah. Okay. So what do you sound like? What makes you you? What is distinctive about your voice? Why is this topic important to you? Those of you that have me in class have heard me talk about passion before. Like, what is your passion? What do you care about? What matters to you? That should come across the page if at all possible. Now, that's hard to do. But even if you get 2 out of 3 points, we can live with that. What you can't have is 0 out of 3. And right now, everybody on the screen except for Mr. Cox and I, because we didn't write one, and one of you got 0 out of 3. There are most years for GSP applications, getting in or not getting in is tenths of a point. Not points, not whole numbers, tenths. 3 whole points is massive. And having read 2 summers ago, 180 kids' essays to them, 95% of those had no audience and purpose, and they still got in. So for you, this can be a getting in or not getting in. This could be a leapfrog moment where you jump over somebody else. Okay, so figure it out. If you would like to bounce an idea off of me in the next week and a half before Tuesday the 15th, so Layla, Tuesday the 15th, then you are welcome to send me an email and I'll respond and say, oh, that's perfect, or I still need to work on it. I'll be happy to give you feedback. All you gotta do is ask. Okay? If you need more of a conversation, I'm happy if you want to schedule a time on a Wednesday next week or one day after school for 5 minutes to meet on Zoom and talk about it. Happy to do that. All you gotta do is reach out and I'll be happy to do that. Okay? Just let me know because it's a home stretch and sometimes you're like, and I'm happy to help you. All you got to do is let me know. Okay. So that's a fairly easy fix if you can find some way to do it. All right. The second part, and many of you did a good job on this, but there's a couple of you, and I tried to write it in my feedback, which was fairly minimal. I apologize, but most of y'all had this edited. I changed a couple commas in places, but most of y'all had someone read it. And it was pretty obvious because you didn't have any grammatical or punctuation mistakes. And so that's good. What does this essay say about you? If you read almost every one of those prompts, it's not what fictional character you would pick. It's not the quote. It's what does the quote say about you? What does the choice of fictional character say about you? What does your struggle that you wrote about say about you? And the answer can't be, I've learned I can overcome adversity. For the struggle essay, of course that's what, and that's the answer, but it's got to be something because that's what everybody says. And then we get into a contest of who has it worse. And we don't want to do that. And somebody's always got it worse than you do. Especially this year, I'm sure a lot of kids that are going to apply to GSP have lost family members. I have no doubt that's going to be something people write about. And I know it's not a competition in your mind, but I'm just being honest. You're not going to win against a kid who had loved ones die of COVID. Not that it's a contest, but well, it actually is. So you're not going to win that argument. So I have no problem with you using the struggle essay or the challenge essay, but it can't be like, I'm tough and I'm strong and I can do this. I realize that's the pride, but come up with a more creative way to talk about that. What does this choice say about you? It's about you. And I know you're humble, nice kids, but you got to toot that horn. Beep, beep, beep. Because if you ain't going to toot it, who's going to? So please be mindful of that. And then the third and last thing I'll say, unless you have specific questions, is you need a creative intro. We talked about this last time as well, but it's harder than it looks. You need a hook. You've all had English teachers talk about that. The people at the state level, I just told you, are going to read 2,000 of these. They might read 700 number sixes. How are they going to remember yours 5 minutes after they put it down? How is yours going to be any different than anybody else's? And one of the ways y'all did a good job is you have those creative choices. That was good. However, some of you have really creative stories and you tell them in the most boring way possible. You go A, B, C, D, boring, 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 boring. Why not start with 12J? My encouragement is take the most interesting thing you think is in that essay and start with that. But then they won't know what's going on for 2 paragraphs. Good, that'll keep me interested. And then in the third paragraph, figure out that you're talking to a room full of 500 eighth graders at your old middle school about advice for high school. I don't need to know everything right away. My favorite movies, there's suspense. Some of y'all will like pick out your holiday presents. And you already know what's in the a little surprise is a good thing every once in a while. I know some of y'all, your little kids will like look under closets and beds and stuff, trying to figure out what you got. Sometimes just let it happen and see what, and be surprised. Some of y'all got nothing, you probably didn't deserve it, but that's okay. So the point is, instead of some of y'all were ornery kids, is just be creative in how you get my attention. Because I don't know if you've ever done 2,000 of the same thing ever in your life. It's really hard to keep focus, number 1998. It really, and some of y'all do, and some of y'all are not, and some of you are like, I don't know. As someone who has graded probably 15,000 document-based questions in my life, but I want, a good DBQ is formulaic. It is a pattern. That's what I want. Creative essays need to be creative. They need to be illustrative of who you are. And this is also, for me, I know many of you, so I know you're creative, interesting, funny, intelligent people. But that essay doesn't show it, at least all the way it should. So do something to grab my attention right away. Be weird, think out of the box, or just simply take the most interesting thing you said and tell me. And then go backwards from there. Does that make sense to everybody? And if you would like to, again, bounce off an idea. Some of us are really smart. We're just not creative. Sometimes I'm not very smart, like I can't read a calendar, but creativity is not a problem for me. Weirdness is not a problem for me. So if you'd like to bounce ideas off, I'd be happy to tell you. Okay? So just all you got to do is ask.
I'm going to add this. I'm going to add to what Mr. Rich said. But before I came to JCPS, I was in another district and I actually served on the district committee that read the essays and stuff. And there was a question about a long lost friend or something like this. And I was reading the same thing all day. And then I got to one and their long lost friend was their afternoon nap. And I'm like, I mean, immediately got me from the beginning. I'm like, what? And they just talked about how their nap, they missed their afternoon nap when they used to be a child, that they, you know, and it was so creative and out of the box, and it stuck with me because I'd read the same thing all day long. So that's like just thinking outside the box. I mean, it got the whole committee, and everybody was like, did y'all read the one about, you know, I mean, it's just how it is. So.
And then Mr. Cox immediately went home and took a nap. So there you go.
Yeah,
So he
I
followed.
know. I was like, I missed my afternoon nap too.
Word. All right. So great advice. Thank you, sir. Anybody other questions about the essay? And if you want to stick around at the end, I'd be happy to answer individual questions. If you want to, you can send me an email later. All that's good. Okay. Just think of a more creative way to start it. And this is where your support system can help you. Talk to those people in your life. Hey, what's a creative way to think about this? Or and just bounce the idea off of them. And here's the thing. If you can't figure it out, it's okay. Maybe you don't need a great essay because, again, out of 20 points, most kids, the best scores are going to be 13, 14. There's not a whole lot of 18s in this pile, ever. They're pretty tough. Because, again, the average score, I mean, I've told you before, I've never seen above an 88. And the average cutoff score is a 68, 69, 70, 71, somewhere in that range. So even kids that are governor's scholars and some of the best kids in the state are going to lose 28, 29 points and still make it. But if we can minimize that, that'd be great. Especially if you already know I'm losing 3 points for my GPA. My test score isn't what I want it to be, especially this year when many of us are not able to test in the way this fall that we've wanted to, all that kind of stuff. So there is news on the front that we're trying to work on the fact that you can submit a test score, like if we are able to test in February, which I think we will be, that you'll be able to submit that later on, like at the state level, if you improve your score from what you have now. So hopefully we can. But you'll hear from GSP if that is the case. All right, last thing I have is Rex. I'm going to post in the chat a link to a Google Doc with what I have currently. So I would like you to do the following. I would like you to go check that is what you think you have. I might have made a mistake. I've been getting lots of emails, but I've double checked it. And it could be that I left somebody out. I have got your name in alphabetical order by last. I have got teacher 1, teacher 2, community 1, community 2, and I put their last names. Now I haven't read them yet. They could be crap. So, but as of right now, I have them. So I would like you to go in there, and this is editable. So if you would do me a favor, if you would go type in a non-black color, just something that stands out for teachers. Community Recs, I don't know them. If you need to contact them, contact them. Send them an email. Now, to Dawn's point from earlier, I don't need them today. Surprise! Some adults are bad with deadlines. I put today's date so we have 10 days until I really need them. So start turning the screws on your recommenders. Be nice. But the community people, your teachers, do me a favor. Type in their last name if you've asked and are awaiting an answer. And I will go ahead and tell you, Mr. McDonald is working on his. He'll have his probably by early next week. Mr. Crocker, my dear friend of many years, will turn them in when I go to his house and threaten him with violence, which I will do because A, I know where he lives, and B, I can whoop him if I have to. So all this will happen. So if you have McDonald and Crocker, you might have none at this point. That's okay. As long as I have him by the 15th, we're good. But also, Mr. McDonald, not so much because he's working on, but you may want to send a gentle reminder. Hey, so-and-so, just a reminder that I need I've been told that Mr. Rich has not received your GSP recommendation yet. Do you think you can have it by, give him like say Monday or Tuesday of next week or something? That'll be fine. Mr. Crocker, hit that emotional touch point like, Mr. Crocker, I'm so worried. I don't, Mr. Rich said you're really bad at meeting deadlines. Feel free to throw me under the bus. That's fine because he knows I do. So, because we've been friends too long not to be honest with each other. He is terrible with deadlines, and that's okay. He's a great teacher. He's a wonderful recommendation writer, but he will stretch that. If I gave him till 2025, he'd be writing these when y'all are graduating college. I mean, I'm not kidding. That's how that works. So just make him feel bad because then he'll do it. Emotional manipulation is the key to life. Probably not the message you want from today, but it's part of it. So update those for me. I see y'all typing away and all that good stuff. Let me know. If you have yours, then that's great. What I will do is read them all over the next week or so, and I will pick which one I feel is the best. Okay? That has more descriptive examples, etc. And remember, next year when you're applying to college, you want as many specific examples in those recs as possible. That really helps you stand out. If your teacher's just like, they're a great kid who turns in their homework. So, like, I need to know something specific. And you need to help your teachers by giving them examples of that. So here's what I will do. when I read these recs, if I see that you have 2 turned in, but neither of them are very good, I may send you an email and say, I need you to ask somebody else. And sometimes that happens. It usually doesn't. Usually we have 2 good ones and we have to pick between 2 good ones. But on occasion, I will read both and go, oh boy, whoo, and I may reach out and say, you need to ask somebody else. Or I will look at your schedule and I will tell you, I'm going to ask this person to pick for you, to write for you. And I'll get involved. And every once in a while that happens because I want you to have the best possible application. And so I'm happy to help you if I can, because sometimes they'll be like, well, the kid asked me, the deadline's already passed. And be like, look, will you do this as a favor for me? This kid asked 2 T2 teachers. They were not good. I've read your recommendations. I know they're good. Do you mind writing one for them? Do you feel like you can do that? And then I'll owe them a favor and I'll do something for them next year when they ask me. So that's fine. I don't mind. Again, everything's political, kids. You got to manipulate the system, right? So quid pro quo. It's hard for me to say, but there you go. Something for something. All right. Does that make sense? So if I'm concerned, you will get an email from me by next week telling you, okay, I'm still missing this rec. What's going on? Have you heard from this person? Let's go. Come on. Especially the community ones, because the teachers, I'll just email them directly and be like, what's up with you? That's why I want you to put their names so I can start putting pressure on them if I need to. I'll give them another day or 2, but like next week I'll start going, what's up? Where are you? What's, that, did you tell this kid no? Or they were like, that kind of thing. And then everything is due by Tuesday the 15th. Mr. Cox and I will be in touch about exactly what that looks like. And I'll forward him a list of your all's names so he can put you in Google Classroom. And again, like I said, if you all would help us, if anybody's interested and for some reason they've fallen off part of this process, but they're still planning on it, all they got to do is touch base with myself and we'll make sure we get them added in. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for general consumption? Anything else that I forgot?
If I want to revise my essay, can I turn it back into you to look at it again or
Yeah,
not?
of course, yeah. In the next week, and again, Mary, you haven't had me in class. It may not be right away. It won't be right away. I am notorious. My students know that they'll get their essays back and they'll get good feedback, but it might take a while. So you may not get it back to like Sunday before the Tuesday that's due, but that's just part of the Mr. Rich experience. So as long as you're okay with that, don't freak out. It's just kind of how it works. Because I'll get around to it. I promise you I will, but it may not be right away and it may make you a little nervous before I send it back to you. Anybody else got comments or questions?
Do the test scores, does the PSAT weigh as much as any other standardized test?
Yeah, that's
It
good. I
does?
forgot to mention, we will do, Ms. Chavez is going to pull transcripts and test scores and all that kind of stuff, assuming we have them. Ballard has yet to receive the October ACT scores. We know you all have. We haven't gotten them yet at the school, which I'm assuming is just a delay. It may be that you get an email from me or Mr. Cox or somebody like that, at the end of next week saying, hey, did you take the October ACT? We're going to need you all to send in your scores yet. Have we gotten PSAT scores at the school yet, Mr. Cox?
Not yet.
We don't get.
Is there anybody that hasn't taken either the PSAT or ACT at all?
Okay.
No, we haven't gotten any of those scores yet.
Okay.
ACT
We don't get
or
our-
PSAT.
We don't get our PSAT scores until the 8th. So
Okay.
there was a mistypo in the email.
I got you. So in a couple days. Okay, good deal. Awesome. All right. Well, guys, if you want, I'm going to stick around for a minute if you have any other questions. But overall, I think we're in a good spot. Y'all have done really well and worked really hard. If there's anything I can do to help you, just remember you want to stand out as much as you can and be authentic to yourself. That's the most important thing. Be you. It needs to be you on paper, but be the most creative version of yourself to try to stand out with all the other high achieving kids who do a lot of the other nerdy and interesting things that you all do. What's different about you? What makes you a little more worthy of this opportunity than perhaps somebody else? Because it is competitive and that's just how it works. Okay. Well, I thank y'all for coming. And if there's anything I can do, let me know. Thank you, Mr. Cox, for joining us. We appreciate your help. And you'll hear from us next week about the details of how you're going to turn in your stuff to us. Okay. All right. Take care, guys. Thank you.
Thank you all. See you.
Thank you, Mr.
Have a-
Cox.